Hello, students, and anyone else who may be watching from home. This is Mr. Borges, also known as Zanzolo, and we're back in CodeCombat doing our next level. All right, so last time we did 9 gems if you're following along with us, and now we're going to do back-to-back. All right, patrol the village entrances, but stay defensive.
For the win!
I want to switch pets just for fun. Right, so that's the pet glitch. You can always, even though it's subscriber only, you can always drag a pet over, and that lets you equip it for some reason. Goals: villagers must survive, eliminate the ogres. So they give you a defensive position here where the X is, and you can see that over here. And then we're going to be patrolling, right, defending these entrances. So we're going to expand your code's possibilities by using else. Else is just like if, except it contains the code that should run when the if condition is false. So I realize that's a little bit confusing for new people. So they've given us an example right here. So we've been doing if enemy, hero.attack enemy. So if there's an enemy, attack the enemy. But what do you do if there's not an enemy? Right? Well, if there's not an enemy, then you skip over this instruction and then you keep going. But we can have special instructions that we only do. We don't want to always do every single time after we're done with our if command. That we have instructions that we only want to do if this if condition is not true, which is maybe a little bit confusing, I suppose. But what I'm trying to say is when you have an if statement, everything that's indented underneath that if is going to happen only if the if statement is true. Only if there's an enemy are you going to do this indented stuff right here. Then, if there was no else, you would skip down to everything that's not indented and you would do that next step. But maybe there's some steps we might want to not do. Like we might want to skip. We might only want to do if, there might be some steps that we might only want to do if there is no enemy. And else lets us do that. So if there's an enemy, do these instructions, or else do these instructions and then skip on to do any non-indented instructions. I can try to explain that all day. It's probably easier just to see some examples. So let's go ahead and go. So we have some yellow arrows here. It's where we're supposed to write code, and we're always going to read the instructions here, right? So there's a note, a comment that's helping us. It says, if there's an enemy, we're going to either attack the enemy or move back to our defensive position. So we're going to pick one or the other. So we're going to stay in the middle and defend. So we have a while true loop. We're going to do this stuff over and over and over. We're going to have the hero find nearest enemy, save it to a variable called enemy, and then check if there's an enemy. If there is an enemy, we're going to say hero.attack enemy. But if there's not an enemy, we're going to move back to our defensive position. That's going to be an instruction for the hero. Hero.move xy, moving back to this defensive position right here. 40, 34. 40, 34. And that's the big idea. So hero's going to pick one of these two things to do. Check if there's an enemy, and then you're going to either attack the enemy if it exists, or move back to this defensive position if it doesn't exist. And that's what the else instruction lets you do. It goes along with if in that way. So we're checking all the time if there's an enemy. If there is, attack it, and we'll just keep attacking it if it exists. Attack, 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 attack as long as it exists. Once it doesn't exist anymore, we're going to move back to the defensive position. And that's the big idea. Now you can see it already says success up here, so we know it's going to work. We go ahead and submit this. Because the randomized version may not work. If munchkins come out at different times, different places, or whatever else, it's possible what worked before might not work this time, and then we would have to fix it. But it worked for us just fine, and that's it for this one. We also get a new sharper sword here, right? Which will give us I think is this the sword that gives us the move cleave? I'm not sure. Anyways, we'll check that out on the next level. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.